So you came up with 96 recipes that are not just health promoting, but they're delicious and they don't have oil.
Mhm.
And that's impressive.
Thank
So
you.
yeah.
I use nuts and seeds instead of oil, and I also use coconut butter instead of coconut oil. And coconut butter is just the ground up coconut, just as the nut butters are just the ground up nut. So it's the whole food versus the oil, which is just the fat, and that makes all the difference in the world when it comes to our health and disease prevention. And the science of nutrition is absolutely fascinating. And there's a Picasso quote that I like. Learn the rules so you know how to break them like an artist. And so having that foundation of nutrition in the back of my head, I knew that how to play with the good for you ingredients.
Well, coconut butter, that is a new one for me. And I thought that I knew a lot of things. So do you buy coconut butter? Do you make it? How does that work?
Yeah, you could buy it, but I buy it in bulk, and you can see it says coconut butter right there. I like to buy it on Amazon. They have some, or your local health food store should. I would ask about it. Oftentimes I'll go to Whole Foods or my health food store, and they'll have all this coconut oil on the shelf, and there'll be like one jar of like coconut butter just hiding there.
Okay.
So, coconut butter needs to become more well known.
Absolutely. And I'm glad that you distinguish that, because probably people would be rushing out and buying coconut oil and not understanding why it didn't work. Because that when you first presented it, I said, that's coconut oil. That's not coconut butter. So now I learned something. And that's what I love about these broadcasts, because when I meet people like you, every time I learn something. So this is going to be really a game changer. Now, of course, desserts are a part of the nutritarian lifestyle, which most people would think, wait a minute, dessert shouldn't be a part of the health promoting lifestyle. So what's the philosophy for including desserts like what you have in your cookbook?
Fantastic question. The key to sticking to I like to call it a diet lifestyle, because it's something that you want to maintain for the rest of your life. How do you maintain a diet for the rest of your life and feel satisfied and not want to binge or go crazy or rebel in some capacity if you're not eating any sweets? It's just not realistic. So I'm not about deprivation. So actually, first of all, I can explain why the ingredients in this recipe and the other recipes in the book are health promoting, but it also allows you to eat less, not more, when you have a serving of dessert after dinner. And so it's about like feeling great, not feeling like you're having any sacrifices, and eating the right amount. You don't want to overdo it on anything you eat, including desserts. And a lot of the desserts are lower in calories. I have nutrition facts for every recipe in the back of the book. I take a lot of pride in having that. So you'll understand what, like if there's 100, 200 calories in a serving, I don't have any, I believe it's the maximum calorie amount per serving is 250, but I can go back and look at that because I'm not 100%. But long story short, there's something about enjoying a brownie after your dinner, for instance, that just is like, okay, you're done for the night and you're good to go. And what I do when I'm making any of these recipes is I'll freeze them in individual portions. And so I don't overeat, because I'll like wrap each serving in tin foil, and I'll take out one, with my dinner if I'm by myself. If it's different if I'm with a big group or I make it for a party, but if I'm just by myself, it's really nice to have individual servings for me to take out and just have in my freezer, and I can heat them up or put them
go ahead. You can go get Petey. I'll talk for a little bit if you want to grab him again. Okay. Yeah. I'm really glad that Talia talked about freezing, because so many times people will make a recipe and not know if it would freeze well. And apparently it seems that the recipes that she has in her book freeze well, which is really nice, because when you go through the trouble of making something that is going to be health promoting and delicious, it would be nice to know that you could, as she recommends, making them into these small portions. And that's a wonderful way, a wonderful strategy to use. Now, one of the recipes that I enjoy, I don't know, I didn't get to see all the recipes in her book, but one of the recipes that I I enjoy is having a frozen treat, which is called nice cream. And I learned that a long time ago from Dr. Fuhrman. He did a recipe demo with that. And you can make it in the Vitamix. And what I like to do is pour it into the ice pop molds. And then I know that I have that one serving and it's good to go and it's in the freezer. So that's just such a wonderful strategy. You can make a delicious dessert and then portion control it out. And so you saying that as you were walking away, I was telling everybody about your recommendation to freeze in individual portions. So are you saying that most or all of the recipes in your book you can do that with?
Yeah, every single one.
Oh my God. So that is just so awesome. So you could just go through the whole book and just decide to just keep freezing things. And then every time you open up your freezer, you could just pull out, one of 95 different varieties of desserts.
I might have 96 recipes in my freezer at the moment, but I've got a handful ready to go. I even made a cake and I have some frozen cake slices in there. So it's a good feeling.
Oh yeah. So how do you like to freeze I mean, I know you have different types of desserts, but what do you typically use to freeze them?
I typically freeze them in tin foil. I mean, that's it. Yeah.
Nothing fancy, just some foil and then you're good to go.
That's just my preference. Everybody can, maybe if you have some glassware, you can put some brownies or blondies in the glass. I do that too sometimes. It's just, convenience and what I feel like doing. So.
Okay. So what categories of recipes do you have in your book?
So first we have the nutrition chapter, and I'm going to put PD down. I opened the door for him if I need to get him again.
Okay.
We'll play it by ear, but I would like to hold the book instead of him. So the first chapter is the introduction, really, and that's all nutrition information. I go over why I use ground vanilla versus vanilla extract, and I use ground vanilla in this recipe, and why I there's a section on coconut butter and oil too, like we were just talking about, and why I use fruit and this nutrition behind that. So after that chapter, we have the cookies chapter, and I'll just show you a few pictures. Like these are unclassic chocolate chip cookies. And then we have maca chocolate chip cookies. Like I like to do different variations. Oop, there we go. It's like getting used to showing things on camera is awkward sometimes. So I mean, there's just so many delicious cookie recipes. Sweet potato spice cookies. I love those.
Wow.
So after the cookies, we have the brownies and blondies and bars chapter, and the book is really pretty. Like I had so much fun with my graphic design team, just with the fonts and the prettiness, and there's even some poems and quotes in the book, and so it's really just an overall like feel good book. So after we have the bars and blondies, we have the breads and the muffins. The muffins are really good for something quick and easy too. I love this coconut banana bread. It's so delicious. So, all right. So we have the breads and the muffins, and after that is the cakes. For instance, this is a strawberry ice cream cake. And
oh my goodness! Look at that. That's beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, this is like a really fun, we can call it not a hobby anymore because I made a book out of it, but just for years I've really enjoyed making beautiful desserts. And so after the cakes chapter, we have the ice creams and smoothies. And that's why there's so many recipes in the book, because there's so many different types of desserts. And then we have, like I was mentioning, there's scientific studies for the first chapter with the nutrition part, and then you have all the nutrition facts for each recipe. So I really enjoy that element of it. So
show us the cover of it too, because I don't think that you held that up for us, just so we could see how beautiful that is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, very nice. Well, that's great, because so many times I have people that I coach, and they'll say to me, "Oh, I would like to make something for a special occasion, for a birthday and so forth." And they'll show me a picture of something they saw on the internet where somebody took like a watermelon and some other fruit and tried to make it look into a cake, which is very creative and very cute. But just sometimes it's a birthday, you just really want a cake, and you don't want to have something that looks like a cake. And it looks like you have some beautiful pictures in there and different flavors and so forth, so that if somebody had a special occasion, they could serve that.
For many years to get all those recipes. I started working on it in 2014. So it's a bit of a long time coming.
Yeah, absolutely. And it looks like probably most of them, if not all of those recipes, are things that you could make and bring to a family gathering of maybe people that were not eating in this way, and you wouldn't even have to tell them, and they probably wouldn't even realize that they were health promoting.
That's 100% accurate. My birthday is actually next week, so I'm going to be bringing the cookies to my birthday celebration with my
family. Well, that's great. So now you have been cooking for a long time, and you've been eating this way, I guess, for your lifetime. So when did you discover that making recipes and cooking and so forth? When did you discover that was something that you really like to do?
There were hints of it in childhood and also in high school. I took a few cooking classes in high school for electives. I went to a really big high school that offered cooking classes. But it didn't truly begin until my last year of college, where I was just really stressed with exams, and instead of, going crazy, getting drunk, going to parties, I was like, I need something to just like take my mind off of school and everything I'm studying. And so what did I start doing? I started looking at food blogs, and it was when food blogs were just starting to become a popular thing. And so I was like, wow, these pictures are so pretty, and I want to try that. Like, I didn't think I would start a food blog or do a cookbook, but I was just thinking, oh, this is so cool. Like, I'll try doing this. And then that's kind of when it started.
And the pictures in the book are beautiful too.
So, yeah, I'm very creative, whether it's nature photography. I love fashion photography. And so I think it's just something that makes sense to me. Knowing myself is that I almost studied fashion merchandising in college. And so that's like, I love color, and, the photos are vibrant. I have flowers in a lot of the photos. So it makes sense that I would gravitate towards that, just knowing my personality.
Well, we're also fortunate that you're here to share all those talents with us. So what will you be making today?
Yeah, so I have these absolutely delicious strawberry shortcake cookies that I made. And this is, and one of them is falling. However, yeah, so I would say that it's one of the easier recipes in the book. And I made this recipe. It's one of the last ones to go in the book. And it just was one of the recipes that just like worked. And that is certainly not the case for a lot of the recipes. A lot of trial and error goes into creating recipes. So I love it. I hope that you guys do too. And it also contains a lot of superfood ingredients. So that's another reason why I chose it. And
I love that they're very large.
They are. They are.
Because this is like, you can have this whole cookie. It's okay.
I'm like tempted to have a bite right now. I'm just like,
I am. I wish I could have it.
I'm just like, oh man, I'm gonna have to have one after cooking them. So when I'm starting out with this recipe, I like to do my flax eggs first. So it's one of the first ingredients. It is the first ingredient listed for a reason. And so it's an egg substitute. It gels like an egg. It serves the same properties of an egg. You could, if you see ground flax seeds in any of the recipes, you could also use ground chia seeds. They're pretty much interchangeable, but I like flax seeds better, personal preference.
And I wanted to I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I want to let everybody know that Talia is generous, and she's going to share this recipe with us, and it's going to be in the show notes after the show. So I think I encourage you to get the book, and that this recipe is in the book. But if you're waiting for the book to come, don't worry about it. You're going to have that recipe available. So go ahead, Talia.
Absolutely. So we start out with a few tablespoons of the ground flax seeds. And so I'm going to put it in, I have a whole cup right here. And so I'll put in a couple tablespoons. I'll practice as if I was making the recipe right now. And so after I do that, I put it in either non-dairy milk. It needs a liquid or water. And so my favorite non-dairy milk of late is oat milk. So I'm just going to put a half a cup for the couple tablespoons. And so you pour that in, and then you let it sit for a minute or so while you start working on the other ingredients and the other steps, because we need to let it form that gel. So mixing it a little bit, and I'll let it sit. So that's the first step. Really easy. You can see that it's just like, and the other steps of the recipe are just as easy. It's just one step after another. And so when people tell me, oh, I'm not like, I don't know how to bake, I've never done it, it's just not for me, it's like they really haven't tried it before, because it's not hard.
So this particular recipe could probably be something fun to do if somebody had a niece, nephew, grandchild, or so forth, to help out.
Super kid friendly. Most of the cookie recipes are. So I've cooked with my friends or baked with my friends who haven't done it before, and they're like, wow, that really was a lot easier than I All right, so the next step that I do is I have organic medjool dates, and that's going to help sweeten the recipe. So I have them right here, and so you have to pit them. So I have my sharp knife. I'm going to go through. I know you can't see my cutting board here because I don't want to chop off my face in the video. So I apologize that you can't see what I'm doing right now. But it is just really easy because you almost don't need to see it, because I'm just pitting the dates right now, and I'm putting them in a bowl that I have in front of me, because it's going to go in the microwave for 30 seconds to soften the dates. And what's interesting—
Is there a reason why you picked the medjool over? Because some people aren't even familiar. They don't even know what a date is. And so there's different types of dates. And so is there a reason why you picked that particular type?
They're soft. The combination of being the sweetest and the softest.
Okay, very good. So that's a dessert appropriate date, medjool.
Yeah, some medjool dates that you buy are very soft when you purchase them. Like I'm feeling these right now, and they're pretty soft. However, if you store them in the cabinet for a longer period of time, they stay good for months. They're really great like that. A lot of dried fruits are. And sometimes though, when you store them, they get a little bit hard, and that's why I just every time, I soften them in the microwaves by soaking them in water, heating them for 30 seconds, and then they become really soft. So it just blends really well in the food processor. So that's kind of what I'm doing right now. So this recipe calls for, I believe 10 medjool dates. So, all right, I'm going to soak them. You can do water, you can do non-dairy milk. Since I have it's all just, you need a liquid. So because the milk is in front of me, I'll just put them in there like so. And then I have the microwave right behind me, so I'll just be putting them in there, and I won't turn it on because it's a demo, or unless you want to see the actual thing.
Yeah, go ahead. You can show something.
Okay. All right.
We don't mind it being real.
So I don't want to talk about it too much because it's not my area of expertise, but my mother always says, don't stand too close to the microwave when it's on.
Yeah, I've heard that too. And it can't hurt to be away from it. So why not?
Right. Why not? So I'm just like standing over here a little bit, but it's done in 5 seconds.
I think you're supposed to drop and do push-ups when it's happening or something.
All right. So then you remove the dates from the milk. Clean hands. So I washed my hands before I started this interview. So basically, you're gonna remove them from the milk or the water or whatever you have, and you put them in the food processor. So that is what I just did. Washing my hands again, and we will go on to the next step. So another sweetening agent in this particular recipe is that I use an apple. So I love apples for certain recipes because it just is another we can call it a liquid ingredient. It just helps everything blend in the food processor really nicely. So and this is a gala apple. You could use any apples you have on hand. It doesn't matter which type. So,
now, would it be okay to use unsweetened applesauce if you didn't have a fresh apple?
Yes, you can do that. Absolutely.
Yeah, because for some of my recipes, I like to keep some individual packages of unsweetened applesauce, because sometimes you just get in the mood to make something and you're, oh no, I don't have an apple. So it's just nice to grab that.
I very much relate to experiencing that, or when you like are missing one ingredient and then I'm like, what can I use as a substitute? So I have been there more times than I can count. All right, so I have the apple. I put that in the food processor now, and then we have I put in actually ground vanilla at this time. It's very cool that I put in the spices and certain things first with the liquid ingredients, so that way it's completely blended into the entire recipe evenly. Whereas sometimes if you put it in, with the dry ingredients in your mixing bowl, it's not perfectly dispersed. So
I'm glad that you do that, because I have seen some people do recipe demos and they'll just go like this and sprinkle it in and they're mixing it. I'm like, it can't possibly be all combined that it got into all areas of that mixture. So that's a good tip.
Yes, I love that. And I've been just something that I found, it just makes sense. So putting in the ground vanilla, and ground vanilla is not only more nutritious than vanilla extract, but it just is so much more flavorful, and it really enhances the taste of any of the recipes that I use vanilla flavor in. So you can also find this on Amazon in your local health food store. All right. And
that's all it is just they just take vanilla beans and what dry them out and then grind them up. Is that right?
Yes. I believe so. Like, I'm just looking at the ingredient list here, and all it says is organic vanilla bean. And this particular bean is from Indonesia, which is cool. Mm-hmm. All right. So, so I do use coconut butter in this recipe. So that's why I had it out. And 2 tablespoons goes a long way. So because I don't have the tablespoon measuring stick right in front of me, I forgot to get that before this, but it doesn't matter for me because I'm experienced and I know I have a 1/4 cup in front of me. I know what 2 tablespoons looks like. And that's just the thing, is like the more you do anything, the better you get and the faster and easier it becomes. So there's that. And then I also put in the baking powder now. Same deal as the spices. It's just getting it evenly dispersed. And so I use a couple teaspoons of this. So put that in. And then let's see, it looks like I'm going to put a little bit of liquid in just to make sure that it when I put on the food processor, it'll process really nicely.
Okay, Talia, Jody has a question. She wanted to know if you use the same amount of ground vanilla in a recipe that calls for the liquid vanilla.
I would say yes, because usually if I'm using vanilla extract, I'm going to use I'm going to use no more than a tablespoon max if I'm doing a cake, which is more servings. A few teaspoons is what I would use. And the same applies for the ground vanilla. I use a couple teaspoons. So it's very much.
I love the ground vanilla because, and we're going to mute you while you do that and I'll talk, okay? So I love the ground vanilla much more than I do the vanilla extract. Sometimes they have alcohol, sometimes they're imitation, and sometimes they just, whenever I taste something that's made with the vanilla extract, it just seems to have a funky, some kind of weird taste. But when I've prepared desserts with vanilla powder, it has a richness to it. And sometimes you're eating something and you're saying, what is that wonderful flavor that I'm experiencing? And I just don't know what it is. And then you realize that somebody like my husband, who likes to bake, put in the vanilla powder. So it is a little expensive, but you don't use a lot of it. And I really encourage you guys, if that's something that you want to try substituting that instead of using the extract, because I think it just adds a a higher, better dimension and a fuller body kind of flavor. Would you agree, Talia?
100%. Yeah, it's just, I know exactly what it tastes like in this particular recipe, because I make these cookies regularly, and it's just so delicious. Yeah, I love it. All right, so I've blended the liquid ingredients and everything that I mentioned to you guys. And so now I'm ready to add the flours. And so I use almond flour in this recipe, and I've got some of that right here. And I love almond flour. It's just ground up almonds, and it tastes so good in these cookie recipes. And I actually, doing these cooking demos, sometimes I forget a step. I forgot to add the ground flaxseed gel, but that's good because it got to sit for a while and it formed a nice jelly egg. So I'm going to be putting that in now. And then also the almond flour. I use a cup of almond flour in this recipe. So it's, and then I use a couple cups of oat flour. So those are the two flours, and they're naturally gluten-free for anybody that doesn't eat gluten. And I could say a lot about that. I've done a lot of reading on gluten, and it's really not bad or harmful to people that don't have gluten intolerances or celiacs. It's kind of like avoiding peanuts if you don't have a peanut allergy.
Yeah, I think that gluten has gotten a bad rap, and some people, because they're not feeling healthy, they eliminate the gluten and then they feel better. But it also seems that there's so many processed foods that contain gluten that maybe it was because they were eliminating the processed foods that they're feeling better, not necessarily the gluten.
Definitely, and everybody's different. It's 1 out of every 10 people have a gluten intolerance, and it's even fewer people that have celiacs. So, if somebody has that, then it makes sense, and you can get tested for that. But if you don't have that, then it's really not helping you to avoid gluten. And as you said, sometimes it's the other ingredients that what else is in the food you're eating. So that's why I think, everybody deserves to understand nutrition. And and there's never been more resources out there. So like, for instance, I love nutritionfacts.org with Dr. Michael Greger, and he has some great videos on gluten, and he has videos on like everything. So
he really does, and so many times, and they're all backed up by scientific research. He doesn't just put videos out. He goes into the details of the research if you really want to know. And so it's just it's a trustworthy source. When you want to find something, you can just type in the search bar whatever you're looking for. And he's been doing it for so long that he's really covering most every topic now, which is so nice.
Oh, I remember watching a video of his on the only like healthy sweetener, and then the conclusion was medjool dates versus, because most people are told agave or maple syrup is a good sugar substitute, and I explained in the introduction of this cookbook why that is not the case. When you look at the science and how it's digested in the body, it's very similar to sugar, like pure sugar. So it's unfortunate because they taste delicious. I'll be the first to tell you how much I would love to eat maple syrup. But thankfully, these recipes are just as delicious. So I don't feel like I'm sacrificing anything, and I get to be healthier for it. So, all right. So I'm going to put on the food processor right now if you want to silence me. Again,
Yes.
I'm going to be blending the almond flour in with the other liquid ingredients.
Yeah. I'm glad that Talia talked about maple syrup and agave and so forth. I have some clients that are transitioning away from those things. So it's just nice to know that science has backed this up, that really, if you want to sweeten things, you're really better off using dried fruits such as dates and raisins. And there's all kinds of dried fruits that you can use to sweeten things with. And this way, you're not raising your insulin levels up and spiking them. There's a lot of information out there as far as that goes. And it's just really nice to know that these desserts are going to be sweet and delicious, and you're not worrying about having deleterious effects of other types of sweeteners.
Yeah, if only other people knew. It's crazy the world we live in. You go to a healthy restaurant and you see they have these beautiful looking desserts, and I just want to eat them. But then it's like, oh, what do you use to sweeten them? And it's agave or maple syrup. And I'm, on the younger side, I'm healthy. Occasionally I can, get by eating that stuff, but I just like to really prioritize baking my own stuff because I can feel good about it.
Yeah, I'm sure once you've tasted your recipes that if you do taste other ones, you're thinking in your mind, well, that was okay, but I know I can make that better if I just work on it.
Exactly. And a lot of these recipes are really easy. Like I'm going slower for you guys, but I can make this like in 5 minutes. So at least putting all the ingredients together. I am using oat flour right now. So I put in the almond flour, I blended that up. And so I'm putting in a cup of the oat flour. And so for every cup of flour that I put in, I'm putting on the food processor again, just so that way it blends really nice and easily. So this will take a really short period of time if you want to silence me.
I love using the food processor. I'm going to have to ask Talia what kind of food processor that she likes to use. Her food processor kind of looks like the one that I have, where it looks like it has a wide mouth. So we'll just have to ask her. Yeah, so Talia, I was curious, what kind of food processor do you use? You have a Cuisinart. And does yours have a wide, it looks like it had a wide mouth. Does it have that?
It's, I'm not sure if it's a wide mouth version, or I think it's just the standard Cuisinart that they sell on Amazon. Because I know that they sometimes come out with like newer versions, and this was the newest version they had at the time. So they all look really good. So I just put in the last cup of oat flour because this recipe calls for 2 cups. And then I'll just be blending that, and then we'll have the dough ready to go.
Okay. So while she's blending that up, I also want to tell everybody that it's okay if you just go to a big box store and get a food processor that's, $25, $35. You don't have to get a high-end one. When I began this lifestyle in 2012, I didn't get high-end appliances at all. I started with everything, maybe it was $20 or so forth. And well, that was mostly because I really wasn't sure if I was going to stay committed to this lifestyle. And then once I realized that I love this lifestyle because I can eat as much as I want till comfortably full and still maintain my health, slowly over time with holiday gifts and so forth, I was able to accumulate different appliances like what Talia has there.
I have blended everything. The dough looks delicious. So after this, I would be putting the dough into a mixing bowl and forming them with my hands into cookies. I put it on the kitchen table over there. So just you're going to use a cookie sheet, and so yeah, you bake them for, I believe it says, and sometimes I forget what I did, so I'm just looking at the recipe. Yeah, it's basically you bake for 35 to 40 minutes until they're nice and golden on top. And I did forget to just mention that you chop up strawberries and you put them on top. Obviously, you can see in this picture. So I have.
Oh, that looks like so much fun. That would be something like if you had a child in the kitchen that they could, with their little fingers, that they could stick the pieces in.
So much fun. And like, as you can see, I'll show you the photo in the book, how much fun I had even with, like, look at how pretty that is. It's
they're beautiful.
And perfect for summer. So I just love.
Can you show us the consistency of what's in the food processor? Like take a spoon or something and just kind of show us.
A spoon, absolutely. So the consistency is it's going to be like, I don't know if you can see that, but it's kind of like a cookie dough kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I sometimes wet my hands to form them into balls, and then I'll flatten the balls in the cookie sheet, and then that's when I'll put on the chopped up strawberries.
And you can put these strawberries in the very beginning before baking, and they don't get like brown or anything. Is that how it works?
Chop them up before baking them. I've done that many times. In fact, the photo you see in the book, I remember actually making them, and I chopped up the strawberries first, so they don't get brown in that amount of time.
Wow. They're so beautiful. Oh my goodness. And I could see like you could maybe make different patterns with them, or if it was a child's birthday, you could put the number of their year on there. I mean, there's just so so many different things that you could be creative in making a decoration with the fruit, and makes it so colorful.
Definitely. And like if you wanted to go a little wild and crazy, you could melt some unsweetened dark chocolate and you can drizzle it on top and like make it a little bit decadent.
Oh. So what kind of dark chocolate would you use if you
I
were
would
doing
use
that?
unsweetened baking dark chocolate. It tends to melt the best.
Uh-huh.
So just unsweetened. And then the highest dark, like level of dark chocolate you can get.
Right. Oh, Kathy Cook wants to know, what brand of coconut butter, ground vanilla bean, almond flour, and oat flour do you use?
Yeah.
So
And the brand really doesn't matter. Most of the, I say that because I haven't done a lot of research on different brands and where they come from and all of that, but I like to buy organic. So like organic medjool dates. I don't think she asked about the dates, but Sun Date Company, like local health food store. A lot of this I get at my local health food store. Bob's Red Mill sells great flours and flax seeds. So sometimes I get his stuff, like this is Bob's Red Mill oat flour. And then Nature's Eats is the company that makes the almond flour here. And then the ground vanilla, I use Sunny Day Organics now, but sometimes I interchange the companies that I purchase from, depending on, budget, and I like to look for a good deal, as most people do. So I sometimes shop on iherb.com. That's IHERB.com, and they tend to have good deals. Amazon sometimes has good deals, but I do try to stick to organic when possible.
yeah, I agree. I think that if you can do that with your budget, and if you can't do all organic, at least go with the environmental working group, the Clean 15, and stick with that at least.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's great. Let's see if we have any other. Are you finished with? I don't want to cut you short. Are you finished with the demo?
Yeah, I
am. Okay. So let's see if we have any questions. Okay. Hi, Jody. Jody wants to know, are all the recipes in your cookbook gluten-free? That's a good question.
That is a great question. Most of them are. If it's not a gluten-free recipe, because whole wheat flour is not gluten-free, you can, where it says whole wheat flour in like, let's say a cake recipe, you can substitute it for oat flour and make it gluten-free. So anytime you see whole wheat flour, sub it for oat flour. And if that is the case, then yes, the whole book is gluten-free.
Wow. Okay. You want to go get Petey again?
Go get him. All right.
Okay. I'm glad that she talked about that, because there's some recipes that I have that are nutritarian. They're from Dr. Fuhrman, and they do contain whole wheat pastry flour. And I always wondered if you could use something else besides that, because I think that the oat flour would probably be more health promoting. So I'm really glad that you asked that question. That's a great question. Now, I don't know if you guys saw those, if you tuned in a little bit later, but those cookies are pretty generous size. And I just can't imagine that somebody would think that it would be okay to eat such a big cookie, but apparently it is, because look at Talia. She must eat a lot of desserts, and yet she still has a great figure.
Yeah, I'm athletic, so I go hiking, 4 or 5 times a week, and so it's just recognizing or understanding what my caloric needs are, and so yeah, I'll have a half a cookie or a whole cookie, just depending on other things I eat, and just knowing what is best for me, and also like, maybe I'll have a whole cookie for breakfast with a green juice, and then I'm going on a hike and, burning a lot of it off. Whereas if it's like after dinner for dessert, maybe I will have a whole cookie. Maybe I'll have half a cookie. It's just, it's depending on my lifestyle and being in touch with my body's needs.
Yeah, I agree. And sometimes you're just more active than other times. And that's how you know.
Exactly.
Let's see if we have another question. Stephanie wants to know, is her dog eating vegan plant-based too?
So he's plant-based. I would say that he's not vegan. So I feed him wild Alaskan salmon. At times he had that today. Sometimes he eats eggs with his meals, because, dogs are just not the same as humans. So his needs are a little bit different. And again, I'm not an expert on how to raise a vegan dog, and I think it's very possible. But he is not vegan.
Right. But he is nutritarian in the fact that every time you feed him something, you're making sure that it's health promoting and that it's not just some kind of processed garbage that people say is okay for a dog.
His meal today, I chopped up broccoli, zucchini, cauliflower, sweet potato, and then added a little salmon.
Okay, good question. This poor dog. It's a dog's life, Petey, but you don't have a dog's life. Okay, let's see. Vita, why? Wondering how often it's okay to eat desserts when you want to lose weight, because I could or would eat desserts every day.
Yeah, I mean, it's really about portion sizes. So if you're trying to lose weight, it's maybe you'll have a quarter of a cookie or a half a cookie after dinner, and you really don't want to feel like you're depriving yourself. So the key with that is to eat that, but then don't eat anything else for the rest of the night. Know that that's dessert. You ate your dinner, you ate your, some of your cookie, and then you're done. And so it's just as I mentioned, my being in touch with my body's needs, it's being in touch with your own body's needs as well, and your activity level, and also if you eat a part of a cookie for lunch or something, maybe don't have it for breakfast or dinner. So yeah, it's being in touch with what's best for you and your weight loss goals, but you can certainly have them.
Yeah, I think that's a great recommendation. With my clients, sometimes there's counting all their calories and they're starving a lot, and they think that they're following this lifestyle when they really need to maybe add a sweet potato in or some beans and so forth in their food so that they're not so hungry. And that when they do turn to eating the dessert, it's not because they're hungry or feeling low in energy. It's because it's just that little treat. And I like to recommend that after the last meal, after that dessert, if you can go ahead and brush your teeth and maybe floss and maybe use a water pick and just kind of do all this stuff to clean out your mouth. And this way, that's it. That's all I'm going to have for today. And then try to do something to keep you occupied other than sitting in front of the screen, unless you're watching this show. But try to do something else so that you're not thinking about eating. But yeah, I think that's great.
And what's wonderful about these recipes are because they're whole foods that you're eating, it keeps you satiated longer. So you're going to feel satisfied. And that's what you don't get from like a dessert that you'll find at Starbucks or your grocery store. It's just kind of like those empty calories just don't feel good. And so, yeah, it's like you're not going to feel even hungry at that point.
Hopefully. Right. And go ahead.
I just said hopefully, yeah, but just knowing that you're getting such a nutrient dense cookie in this case, it makes a difference how your body digests it.
Right. And most of those things are sweetened with things other than dates or other dried kind of fruits. And so they're spiking your insulin, and then they're making you crave more. Even if it's stevia, it just makes you think that you want to have more. So these are really going to be great recipes and a great resource for a lot of people.
It's wild how conventional desserts are like I'll say a cancer cocktail, because you have sugar, your sugar substitute, which promotes disease. You have a lot of white flour, processed flours, disease promoting. You have your oils. You have your preservatives. It's really like you can't imagine something worse to consume if you want to stay healthy.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's see another. We have another question. Jim wants to know, what do you eat? Oh, when you travel or go on long hikes? You said that you like to hike. So, I mean, I'm always eating, but you must take food with you sometimes. So what is it?
I'm a big nature traveler. So, I tend to go like to my local health food store before I go on a road trip and pack a bunch of stuff up. And then where I stay, I'll make sure it has like at least a small refrigerator. And so I tend to buy raw veggies, hummus, maybe a Lara bar or some of the desserts that I make in my own kitchen. I like to have a good stash of raw veggies. That's just me and convenience. And then I'm thankful and happy that I do like hummus and like bean dips, and I even sometimes pack some pitas that I make that are homemade. And I can go on and on about what I pack on these trips, because it's obviously desserts are desserts, and you want to eat a well-balanced diet and different dishes. And sometimes I'll even, I don't tend to pack soups because they can spill. But I pack sandwiches, and that you can even like a homemade cauliflower pizza. I've packed that before. So I just take what's convenient and portable.
Oh, that sounds like another cookbook. Okay, Elizabeth wants to know, what was your favorite meal as a child?
Ooh, are we talking healthy, or are we talking?
Well, I guess we could only imagine if it wasn't healthy, it could be almost anything. So maybe we'll talk nutritarian.
I love Italian food, so like a healthy pizza. I mean, I'm really simple in that regard. Healthy lasagna. If you can make any conventional Italian dish healthy, like that's what I love. I love Italian food. There's a restaurant in LA, so I live in Southern California, and it's called Pura Vida, and they do such an amazing job of making vegan Italian, and they don't use that much oil. I never go there and feel like, oh, this was really oily. I think she uses a little bit. It's not completely nutritarian, but I'll go there on occasion, and I feel like I'm eating authentic Italian food. I'm like, just at my happiest. So good.
Okay. Let's see. Carol wants to know, how do you navigate dating with this lifestyle?
Oh, goodness. I will tell you a little story. There was one date that I went on, and he, at some point of the date, told me that he doesn't eat vegetables. Like, he just doesn't like them. And I was shocked, but I had to rule him out. Because it was just, he texted me after the date, like, he knew that he could tell I wasn't really feeling it, and he was like, what nailed the coffin down for you, or something related to like what was the demise of our potential relationship. And I was like, dude, it's because you don't eat vegetables.
I bet that was the first and last time you heard that.
Yeah.
But that was your deal breaker.
It was, in that case, it was a deal breaker. You can't not eat any vegetables and be with me. In general, though, because that was an extreme scenario, the guy, he just has to care about health and wellness. That's the most important, because then you have so much to work with when you want to eat healthy and be your best self. And, that's just a sign of intelligence for me. So that's most important. I would love to date like a vegan guy, but that hasn't happened for me yet. That would be a dream come true. I've had a few exes that they would eat vegan just when they're around me. And that was really considerate of them. Yeah. So just, I feel like when I start dating somebody, they don't know a lot about this, but being curious and having an open mind and wanting to enjoy meals with me. And sometimes like they'll eat what they want on their own, but then when they're with me, we eat healthier. And they can see how delicious it is, and they tend to gravitate towards it more. But I'm attracted to smart guys, and a smart guy is going to care about his health.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. I love how you said that to you, it's a sign of intelligence. If you care about your health and you're open-minded and curious.
Intellectuals, that's where it's at. And there's so much to be said about that. Being healthy is mental just as much as it is physical. So I want, somebody that is empathetic and kind, like a really kind person. That is not easy to come by these days. So we'll see. Currently single, and I'm looking forward to meeting future men who are interested in taking care of their health.
Well, I think the universe will bring you in that direction, because you're doing all these things that are health promoting. So you're definitely going to be exposed to more and more people. So if on a first date, you meet somebody, and typically, what do they want to do? They want to take you out to lunch or out to dinner. So what do you say when they offer that?
Yeah, I got into some awkward situations in my 20s where I'll suggest a vegan restaurant on the first date, and then if they're not vegan, sometimes, or if they're heavy meat eater, it's kind of like, where'd you take me, Talia? And so maybe it's just a sign of incompatibility if they're not excited about it. I've certainly learned my lesson I want them to be happy. I want me to be happy. And so thankfully, where I live, if we're going to a restaurant, there's so many places that offer something for everybody. I love when places are just like, they have their vegan, healthier options. They have something that's not vegan and not as good for you. And it's just like, I'm happy, they're happy. But again, like, it's really attractive when it's just like, oh, they want to order something healthy on the
menu. Well, I think that's just so encouraging, because there are a lot of people that are single and they're trying to adopt this lifestyle. And that's a tricky thing to navigate. It's like, when do I tell them?
No, yeah, I'm in the same boat. Thankfully, though, the guys that I'm meeting, they are really interested in health. I find like a lot of guys are into like fitness, in whatever form. And I feel like if you're a gym rat, like, you're going to want to eat well. So yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay. I think we had another question. Stephanie said, oh, what does a day of eating look like for Talia? That's a good question.
Ooh, I switch it up. Today, I actually haven't eaten lunch yet, but I'm on this raw veggie wrap kick. So my local health food store, I love, for anybody living in Southern California, Mother's Market is fantastic. And they sell these raw vegetable wraps, just loaded with like zucchini, like just different sorts of vegetables, like mushrooms, zucchini, spinach, tomatoes, onions. Just, it's so good. I believe they use like a cashew sauce and a raw spinach wrap. And so I know that's in my fridge. I'm going to be eating that after this. And for breakfast, this is me personally. I feel like we have to do what speaks to us. I don't like eating first thing in the morning. It's just not my style. I don't feel good when I do that. So I will have like maybe like a coffee. I don't drink more than 1 cup of coffee a day. If I do, it's going to be in the morning. So I'll have just like something like that, or like tea. I love tea, or like a matcha beverage, just something like a liquid, and I'll sip on that. And then like around 11, 12, I'll eat my meal. And so in this case today, it was this raw veggie wrap. Sometimes if I'm on the go, I'll just really enjoy those veggies and hummus, and then maybe some of a dessert that I have, or maybe I'll make a big salad. I especially in the summer, I just love making a salad with my favorite greens like arugula and kale, and then I'll have just any vegetables that I purchase. I'll chop that in, and just a homemade dressing. My dad has a wide variety of dressing recipes on his website, and I love his Caesar dressing. And so I make that, I store it in the fridge, and I'll just have amazing salad. And then for dinner, I like more of the warm food. So like a good homemade soup. Mentioned I love Italian. Maybe I'll throw together a pizza. Lately I've been making a lentil loaf, which is just like I use lentils and walnuts and different veggies, and I like eating that with ketchup. And so my dad has so many amazing recipes on his website, and that's where you also find the cookbook. So in his shop. And that's Dr. for Dr. Fuhrman, my last name.com. So it's really easy to find. And so it's getting in touch with what you enjoy and how much time you have, making it delicious and convenient. So there's a bit of an art to that. So everybody's a little different with what they like.
Okay. I'm glad that you talked about the different variety of things that you eat, because some people think that this lifestyle can be boring. And if they never heard of this lifestyle, they would think that all we do is eat carrots and celery. So there, you find that the 5 or 7 meals that you like, and you pretty much eat those, and then maybe sometimes vary and rotate. And like you said, everybody's different in the textures and the flavors that they enjoy, but there's just so much. I'm a member of Dr. Fuhrman's website, and yes, he does have lots of recipes, and he comes out with new ones all the time. So it's a really great resource. And I also have some recipes on my BeGreenWithAmy.com website. So, and the internet's just full of lots of things that you can try. So it's definitely something that you can enjoy trying different things out. So I think that we may have time for one more question. Let's see if do we have any more questions? We have Rebecca in the background. She's posting our questions for us. So while we're waiting so Kelly, okay. That's a good question, Kelly. I'm going to wait till Talia comes back and I'm going to read that to her. And, okay, so we have a couple more questions, and when Talia comes back, I'm going to read that to her. So, here she is. So we had, okay. All right, so we had a couple of questions pop up while you went to get PD. Kelly wants to know, can this lifestyle help with acne? Do you have any suggestions?
Oh my gosh, it helps tremendously. So I actually this is my second book. I have a book on Amazon called Love Your Body. And that chapter contains that book contains a chapter on skin health. And that was one of my favorite chapters to learn about. And because it's the science of why dairy and sugar and sweeteners that act like sugar promote acne and skin issues, and how taking out just processed flours, dairy, and sugar should make such a difference when it comes to the vibrancy and health of our skin. And then on top of that, when you're eating a nutritarian diet, your skin's going to glow, because it actually, just like every cell of your body is affected by what we eat. Your skin is so affected. And so people who eat a nutritarian diet actually have like a healthy food tan. So it makes you look healthier.
Yes, you're so right about that. Your skin's your largest organ, and what you feed your body is going to reflect on that. I have a nutritarian tan. I think there's a couple of times that I saw your father, Dr. Joel Fuhrman, talk about how if you'll know, because you'll see that the person's hands are more of like an orangey color than they are a pink color.
I don't know what comes up on the screen, but you see I have an orangey tint to my fingers. Yeah.
Right. And that's what I had. And I remember one time I was getting a manicure, and the woman was really worried because she saw my orangey hands. But it just makes your whole body glow. And that's a really good tip. Okay. One last question. James wants to know, what tips do you have for someone who wants to adopt this lifestyle? So they just found out about it and they don't know where to start.
Absolutely. So this applies for anything in life. Be kind to yourself. And if you make any mistakes or you don't know something, you think you are doing, I think being gentle on yourself and continuing and having some, I like the word grit, having grit with not giving up. And so also understanding that better way to love yourself than taking care of your health. And that just is the base to anything else you do in life. So, trying your best and continuing to learn and having a really healthy mindset about it, I think will help you stay on track over the long haul. And figuring out what foods that you enjoy. What are your favorite dishes and vegetables and desserts in this book? And so if you like the taste or love the taste and you let's say pick up one of my father's books or my cookbook or whatever it is, and you just start playing around and making it fun, because life should be fun. And so that's my tip, is just being kind and gentle with yourself about it. You have to start somewhere, and you get better and better at anything in life the more you practice it. So, and it does take some time to form new habits. So this is a change. This is a big deal, but it's really worth it in the end. So, it's, to not get cancer or heart disease like most people do later in life, to extend your life, 20, 30 years, the payoff is just priceless.
That is just so beautiful. And I hope that some of you that are watching became inspired by that, either that you want to try this lifestyle and you're going to do it, and at least try it for a month, I would recommend. And those of you that are already adopting this healthy lifestyle, maybe it's encouraging you to tighten the screws a little bit and take it up a little notch and try to eliminate more of those foods that are not health promoting. Thank you so much, Talia. I know that you're so busy. I've watched you on Instagram and other social media, and it's almost like you have a couple of clones of yourself because you're just doing so many things, and they're all good for the world. And so you're saying be kind to yourself, but you're also being kind to all of us by giving us your time today.
Wow.
And it's just so wonderful that you came.
It was very heartwarming to hear you say that, and my pleasure. I'm so happy. My goal is to really spread, what the gift that I was given of learning about nutrition, how delicious it can be, and being your best self. That's what I'm all about. So just pure joy.
Well, very nice. Well, guys, stay tuned for a special announcement. I do want to thank somebody who's been working hard in the background, and that's Rebecca. She is from PKA Solves, and she's been awesome. Hi, Rebecca. She's been awesome at posting all the questions and taking care of all the things behind the scenes so I can enjoy my time with Talia today. I also wanted to thank Jess Toss from Just Toss Voice. And she did the voiceover, the countdown. She's just been really great. And Lynn Murray says, good job, Talia and Amy. Thanks, Lynn. I'm so glad that you were watching. And I'm thankful to all the rest of you that have been watching as well, because this is why I'm here. That's why Talia is here. We want to spread the word about this lifestyle, and we want you to help us. And the way you help us is by watching this and liking and subscribing and sharing. That's how we spread the world to make this world a better place and make people healthier. So if you can do me a favor and like, comment, and share, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be signing off with Talia with my tagline. And if you could type it in the comments at the same time, because what I'm going to be saying, be strong, be well, and then we're going to both say at the same time, be green. So if you type that in, and then we can kind of all make the universe connect at that one moment, that would be really, really great. So before that, I want to show you that we have somebody coming up next. Who is that going to be, Jess Tuss?
Coming up next, Dr. Kim Scheuer and Dr. Nikki Davis discuss awesome tips for weight loss. They will also discuss how to overcome obesity. Join us on Wednesday, July 14th, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific, on Be Green with Amy, live.
Well, thanks again, everybody. Thanks, Talia. And until I see all of you again, remember, and thanks, Petey. Remember, be strong, be well, and be green.